Hello and good evening, everyone. I am Professor Smita Dalvi from Pillai College of Architecture, and I welcome you to the PiCA Alumni Talks. In this, we invite alumni of our college to share and talk about their professional journeys and their work. This series also commemorates the Golden Jubilee year of Mahatma Education Society, who runs Pillai Group of institutions. Established in 1970 with a school, today the MES manages 48 institutions from various campuses, offering quality education from pre-primary to PhD levels. PiCA itself opened its doors in 1992. The founders and the trustees of MES have always been sharing the pride we take in our alumni spread in all parts of the country and around the world. It is a matter of great joy, therefore, to curate and present this series. I'm delighted to welcome our tonight's speaker, Krupa Zubin, founder and principal architect at ZZ Architects, and the session moderator, Ajay Nayak, the CEO at EDEN, that is, Educated Environments. Let me introduce Ajay Nayak. He graduated from PiCA in the year 1999. For more than a decade, Ajay pursued architecture journalism and media as the managing editor of Indian Architect and Builder, India's premier magazine on design and architecture. This included initiating brands like 361 Degrees Conference and other platforms of engagement. Parallelly, from 2006, he has been involved with various NGOs in a multidisciplinary approach to design. His engagements involve participatory communication, design, and facilitation of community-based sustainable habitats. This includes work in tsunami reconstruction, tribal school and training center programs, etc., in different states of the country. Ajay is the head of EDEN, that is Educated Environments. It is an environmental advisory and consultancy organization working with schools on sustainability programs, with communities on advocacy and habitat planning. Ajay is also a founding member of Water Environs, which works on river rejuvenation and water ecologies. He is an advisor on habitat, communications, and design for the Indigenous Partnership, a global agency working with grassroots food producing communities and contemporary academia on developing data on resilience, climate change mitigation, and agro biodiversity. It is a pleasure to have Ajay Nayak with us. I welcome him and call upon him to begin today's session.
Hi, am I on? Yeah. Hi,
Yes.
a very good evening to everybody. It's always a pleasure to be back to PiCA. I think when we've been talking this afternoon, we were just saying that you feel young again when you're in this crowd and you feel you're back to, and especially when you're in front of Mrs. Dalvi, you feel you're back in the classroom. So yes, thank you, ma'am, for having us here. And thank you to PiCA alumni. And thank you to my batch of 1994, who made the 5 years amazing, and we've been in touch, and it's always good to be back at PiCA. So thank you, PiCA alumni. On that note, it's my pleasure to introduce my classmate and now architect Krupa Zubin, who is a founding member of ZZ Architects, along with architect Zubin Zainuddin, a firm that has worked on a multitude of projects in the architecture and interior space, from residential to hospitality, from Krupa Zubin's belief is the cornerstone through which the firm has grown, rendered in a play of materials, use of technology, all aiming to create their design sensibility to define their particular style. She aims at transforming every site into a unique environment, which is the ambition of the firm. Having founded their practice in the year 2002, she and Zubin have won multitude of awards and accumulated a fantastic career experience, becoming one of the leading and popular firms in India of the AEC sector. She has been instrumental in defining the studio's particular style, which they're known for. Behind every project, she believes there exists a rigorous need to create a work of international quality. And she herself claims that she's a late entrant to the world of Instagram, but she's quite a star there, so please follow KZ. Krupa Zubin relishes the opportunity to share her experience in every field, this I quote her, with the sole purpose of inspiring. And I think that you come across our everlasting impression, the one who truly believed and loved to share. So on that note, I welcome Krupa on board, and it's good to have you.
Thank you, Ajay, for the kind words. For all who don't know Ajay, he's a brilliant writer, and I've always told him that he has his way with words. And thank you for the amazing introduction. First of all, I have to thank Mrs. Dalvi and the entire alumni to sort of take this up and create a platform where we can share and we can feel younger. Uh, we definitely feel a decade younger today addressing all of y'all. And yeah, the idea is that I think everybody is doing some amazing work right now. And we are just a part of the entire architectural stream, so there is always a thing that we need to constantly learn and grow. And it's a journey that we have to all continue together. We are all in this together. And the more we can learn and share, I think I'm also inspired by a lot of young people who come with us such energy. And we see a lot of resumes all the time, pan India. So it's lovely to kind of see what's happening in different cities and what's happening abroad. So thank you for the opportunity. So Ajay has fired me a lot of questions, in the last week that we've been coordinating. So the idea was to just answer those few questions before we get into a discussion, and take that forward.
So, Katie, I'm going to just interrupt here and just position this session for everybody a bit.
Yeah.
When we started talking, we decided to call it 5 by 21, 5 years of college and how it shapes the 21 years out there in the field.
Correct.
So
Correct.
that's how we started. And today's session is divided into two parts, which is the person and the practice mainly, but the person and the priority she brings to the table is the part one, at the end of which we will break into a Q&A, or we'll into dialogue where we invite questions from the I think it's the system has been coordinated in a way where you can send in your questions on the chat. So as we begin the dialogue, you can share the sessions with questions with us, and we're happy to take them on. So that's part one, and we break into part two, which is practice and priorities. And that's where, when Krupa will be talking, again, presenting her work. At the end of it, we again have a dialogue where, again, we welcome part two of the questions. So that's the mode of the session. Now I hand it over to Krupa to jump into it. What is she as a person, as a priorities, and what defined her entire initial years? So we are right now on Katie, Krupa Thakkar, as we knew her in the 5 years. So over to you, Krupa.
Okay. So this is my journey from KT to KZ. And I mean, Ajay has been a part of me sort of, having this set of questions, which are very, very interesting and powerful. So I'm just going to take you through a quick presentation, a short presentation, in fact, which sort of, probably just gives you a little insight into the simple and basic person that I am. So I want to ask you, is everything visible? I mean, is my screen sharing at the moment?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, perfect. So to begin with, I want to share my journey from, being a very enthusiastic, student at PiCA. Actually, for all who don't know, Katie has been a name that sort of tagged along all my college days because I was Krupa Thakkar then, and hence the name. Now, Ajay helped me structure this casual presentation and gave me a very helpful direction. We definitely needed a lot of work. So I felt this was like the good old college days for me. We had this brief, and then we had to go through rigorous questioning and critiquing. And finally, here we are. So the framework or design dissertation, as you all do in college, is what we've done. And this has been my journey. So Mr. Nayak here was very clear as to what are the questions he wanted me to address. So I'm just going to read those 4 questions to you. What defined me as a student? A little more about my strengths and personality. What are the traits that seemingly set me apart? And what are my last parting memories from PiCA? Obviously, this was a week-long discussion, and I have to sort of concise it in half an hour for you. So, who was Katie at college? I mean, I generally would like to believe that I was a very, very hardworking student. And, I gradually developed an understanding to the program and tended to gravitate towards design oriented subjects while I was back in college. Uh, you know, First, let's put our college into perspective, the entire education into perspective for all of us. We have to consider the fact that we were quite old school then. I mean, for all of us then, there were no computers, there was or software, that were taught at the time. Now, can you all imagine that? Especially as young kids, we didn't even have computers at home. You know, so the only way to do research that time was either to encourage yourself to go to the library, or there was no concept of internet at all. So it wasn't really easy for us. So, and again, guess what? We didn't have any cell phones. So there was no mode of communication or gaining knowledge or having access to people that you have today. So try and digest living like that. Uh, so again, my favorite architects, as we always speak about, were the usual suspects. Then there was Louis Kahn, B.V. Doshi, Charles Correa. These all amazing architects have been an inspiration to many people, including me. And honestly, the exposure was extremely based upon self motivation back then, and it was purely academic. So even the final year portfolio was actually to be done by hand. you know so starting from the beginning, I come from a very humble background, and I've undergone very simple schooling to begin with. I scored well in my class 12th exams, and my sister was pursuing medicine. I wanted to do something else, and I loved design and art, so I had this hunch about taking up architecture. Personally, now you see me there in the picture. I mean, it's a very, very old picture, one of my oldest memories when I used to travel to college. So that's how I was, absolutely outgoing, a young rebel. I was much of an introvert, and I'm going to skip to the next slide at the moment. So I was much of an introvert back then, and I belonged to the third batch of PiCA. And, I clearly felt very overwhelmed around so many talented architects and designers that were, a part of our college program. Then I wasn't part of the major team submissions. Let's be honest, people know me. I actually devised a very singular approach back then in life. Now this to students, honestly, since I'm addressing you all, I don't think this is something that I recommend, but I personally was very comfortable with myself, or more comfortable amongst a smaller group of friends. you know so I approached architecture school with a penchant for gaining marks, continued being result oriented. I didn't realize the importance or meaning of, quote unquote, the process. So that was the whole thing. I always felt that I had this rebellious self in me, uh, who had to sort of come out, not only uh, during with academics, but also as a part of the social life. So I sort of held back to the similar attitude at work. Now, during college, a lot of y'all will realize that this is the best time for you to sort of, understand your strengths and your weaknesses. I realized that my strength was to get work accomplished, which is again a talent, I must say. This I did by managing to have a group of friends and juniors that could help me get my work completed in time. And as all of you all know today, that I had to make you wait for like probably 5-10 minutes, and I have always been that person. And so I was very impressionable, looked at a lot of my seniors and friends as inspiration: Ajay, Jeenu, Irana, Deepan, Romeo, Lakshmi, just to name a few. You know, and I would not definitely describe myself as an exceptional student, but also I was not a troublemaker or an attention seeker. I have to ask Ajay after my discussion whether he agrees to all that I'm saying. And honestly, there's a lot of inspiration, like architect Harimohan Pillai and architect Mustanshir Dalvi's classes were extremely and truly inspirational. I still recollect some of the interactions, that I had at that point. And I also remember that sometimes they were clearly very passionate about the point of view. So almost it was a little overwhelming for a young student trying to find her way. So, and at that time, Mrs. Dalvi sort of was a guiding star. So you had a lot of places you could go to, and get that little push that you needed. So I was always, again, when it came to a lot of these common events, I was game to get involved in the events, but this was purely for the excitement of being involved. Yeah. Now being a part of the committee or the college council was not meant for me. So that was me back then. To sum it all up for Ajay, as to put it all in short, what defined Krupa as a student, a non-conformist, I would say, and that's a tag that Ajay gave me this morning. And what are my strengths and personality? I was quite committed to complete whatever I took back on hand that day, and even today I'm pretty much the same. So I do emphasize quality in all my work. Traits that set me apart back then were never, never, never give up attitude, and I think I still sort of hold on to that. And last parting memory, I have to be so thankful to the teachers to sort of help me get this all round education. Now, coming back to my working days, there is a certain attitude that I sort of like to believe I have. Now, when somebody comes and asks you what's your favorite color or how do you experience color, you always think that it's a visual experience. But to me, color goes beyond the visual experience. Have you ever imagined sort of having color on your skin, or just putting your feet deep into color, and you'd realize that it's more powerful as a medium than that? So in life, you must sort of dive in and experience things to sort of have an opinion. And it's not about the superficial experience, but it's about understanding the underlying meaning of the entire process. So so this is what I take back as my attitude every day at work. Now, in architecture as a profession, honestly, it's given me a lot. And I've got my life partner because of my profession, my individuality, my explorations as an entrepreneur. Now, I have a team that I'm extremely proud about. We grew from a team at ZZ. We started off with one, then five, and now we have a team of about 72 architects and designers with us. So, and the clients have been absolutely an integral part of our journey. I think we could not have done it without them. So, you must realize that our profession is teamwork. Now, whether you're in college, it's a teamwork between teachers and the student, and the kind of exposure to the library, books, internet that you have. It all comes together at the end. And as an architect, it's clearly the people around you, and your vendors, your suppliers, and a lot more that you can really benefit and sort of hold on to. So being an architect is clearly what defines my identity, and I'm very happy that it's sort of taught me a lot. Now, architectural practice, life, and everything in between. I say this because since my life partner is an architect, we live design 24/7, and that's something I love about my life.
Krupa, may I interrupt? You're jumping into part 2.
Okay, all right. So I can probably, it's actually a very short part for me, but I'm going to try and stop sharing. Okay.
Okay. So when Krupa and I started talking, we said that this 3 months of lockdown has been quite a torture for everybody, because I remember the post of some few days back from Mr. Dalvi, which was from, I think, Anarkali and Salim, where Salim tells Anarkali, "Ud jao, ud jao Anarkali, webinar khatam ho gaya." So I think we said that there have been enough webinars which have put everybody to sleep, and we have to make a difference and ensure that people last this alumni session, which is happening. So we said we're going to keep it fun, and that's why we said before we jump into practice, we will have a little fun and understand. So yes, so the idea is not to put Krupa in a hot seat, but definitely bring a few memories back about what college was and what has shaped her future from that. So I have this distinct memory of Krupa in the first year, and that is I entered the studio and there was Krupa with a paper rocket in her hand going up and going up her nose, and my expression said it all, and she chased me with a T-square. So Krupa, what was that?
Okay, so I mean, I just have this attitude and self that I don't want to wait too long for something to happen. I'd rather go and get it. So I wanted to sneeze, and there was nobody in the room, and I felt very safe and secure at that moment. And I said, let me just get done with as many sneezes as I can. And there comes an Ajay, and he just gives me a surprise. And and then he would go and tell the entire college about it. So that's high school, or that's like that's what I mean. I think I still am like that, but thankfully I left that habit a few years down the line. Maybe you're
Okay.
responsible for that.
Okay, so the idea was just that the memory of Krupa is of a go-getter always. You have, when I did say you're not a conformist, be it the way you style yourself, be it the way you style your spaces, which may be conformist to what a client demand may be, but you've never followed the beaten path. So
Yeah.
also shaping your entire college life, or how you have approached your work, and how important is it to stand apart, or not be conformist? How do you really shape yourself that way?
The thing is, I always follow my heart or my passion, and I don't really get affected by this whole thing as to where everybody is heading. If that is not the path for me, then I decide to go the other way. And it often is the tougher path to take. In life, I've realized we've done that many a times. Even in business, what we've done is, the time we get very comfortable with work, every time I've shifted in office is when I felt extremely comfortable with where we are. We realize
Okay.
that we can probably hang on to this office and live like this for the rest of our life, and be happy, have food on our table. You don't have to do much, and or we can shake this entire equilibrium up and decide to get uncomfortable and see where we land. So our entire journey is sort of been like that, and we've sort of grown like that. So I think
Okay.
also with fashion, it's something that I'm very happy in my own skin. I have my own sensibilities, and it's something that I've loved sharing on Instagram of late, because it's amazing the kind of interactions that happen on that medium, and the way people react and get back to you asking you questions. So I think, yeah, it's again just it's the unknown path. I think I like that little adventure. So
Okay. Okay. On that question, we had, so ragging is started, Krupa. We have a question from our senior, the pioneer batch, as they call themselves. We have
okay.
Avnish Pandarkar's question. Hi, Avnish.
Yeah.
His question is, please tell us of one memory from college that you would
Yeah.
classify as the toughest moment academically. You can also say personally, but let's start with academically.
Okay, I remember Avnash. I mean, Avnish very clearly, and he was again somebody you would always look up to back, in those days. He was our senior, and see, the toughest moment I recollect, which I was not going to share if this question wasn't asked to me. There was a time when I told you that I had a lot of people help me for submissions sometimes, when I was pressed on time. And so there was a time when I had to walk in for my final exam, and I had everything in front of me, but I wasn't just happy. So I decided in one of these important moments not to go inside that hall, and I went back to my room, which was close by, because that time I was staying in Panvel. And I told my family after a week that I didn't give the exam. So I think that was very radical. Again, these are things that you don't suggest to somebody because they're not the best. But that moment, I think, also defined me in a way, because that was one of the final years, and it sort of made me question things a little more, and it put me on a different path.
Okay.
So the tough times are the good times.
Yeah, shaping times, let's call them that.
Yes,
So what
yes.
are so that was the professional moment. What was the personal moment that really toughest one? What?
Yeah, I don't know really. I just remember everything as like, this really this fun times. I mean, I can tell you what I loved because there's nothing that I
Yes,
didn't love
sure.
back then. So I loved the idea that our college had this gorgeous space outside. I mean, it was literally you could finish your class and you would go out, and there was this little canteen space down the lane where we all would go and eat our staple Indian food, like the vada pav, and that is such a memory that's hung on because we always looked at the smaller things in life. We looked at people there. I think we got
Hmm.
influenced by the different kinds of people around and what they were doing, and it's a very unknown. Unknown learning. It's not something that we were looking for learning, but being in that outdoor space, it gave you that little access to nature. And today professionally, we see people are actually buying that little quantum of nature that they want that little house by the valley, and they want a little courtyard in the house because there isn't enough green in the city. So I mean, those are things we took for granted when we were in college. But so those are my beautiful take backs from where we come, and the kind of travel we had, amazingly long travel. So there was like 2 hours of music and unlimited views of the city that you would sort of travel to get to the college. So I think these were great learning times.
Okay. Well, the questions are floating in, and the next one comes from Sunil Ladda.
Okay, I
And
told you
that
the
is
picture in the train, right? So I don't think I have been in the train for so long, and when I saw this today after years, I felt so connected to it.
okay, cool. Okay, so next question is from Sunil Ladda, and he asks anything on ragging that you would like to share.
The first day, I mean,
Did he rag you?
they did get me to be ragged, but I really had this very, I don't say innocent, but I don't know, I had this kind of a humble and like let her go kind of a face. So I got saved from that for the first 2 days that they caught me, and it felt so damn good. So I mean, also the seniors were very, very kind. I mean, even Sunil and Jinu, all of these guys were seniors, but they were very kind, I feel.
Uh, I think we're talking about different seniors. All right. Please. Okay. So I think so. That's with the questions of part one, as we said. Let's move on to. No, I have one last one because we talked about profession. We didn't talk about the professional practice session that you had, where you trained with, and which practice you did with that, and just memories from that, please.
Yeah, so I can probably go back to my sharing screen inspiration of the
Sure.
second part. I mean, there are a few slides, but uh, 1 second. Share. Okay, just tell me if you can see the screen.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, and yeah. So back to my sort of professional life. This is how I've sort of kept myself inspired. After I finished college and got into my professional life. So immediately after my professional life, I had this clear thing in my head that it was not about the money. Money was never the primary source of inspiration or the reason why I would get the job. It was always work, 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 and more work. So that's all that really mattered to me at that point. Like I said, I had already begun thinking on a new path. So I interned with Sanjay Puri Architects, and that's the only firm that I interned with. And I grew very fast in the organization because I was on to becoming an associate with the firm when I had decided to sort of take a different route. So I was very happy, and I learned and grew each and every day. So I remember very clearly, I was literally the first one to enter in, and definitely the last one to leave the studio. So I would dread to go home, and I just felt it was a calling to be only in the studio and keep working. So I remember to that extent that I had a fixed place close to the office where I would sort of go and have breakfast in the morning, so I could just be the first one at office. So there were no weekends, there was no holidays, and there was no semblance of any social life back then. So eventually I progressed, and I just enjoyed the art of work. Now ZZ Architects came into play because it was very necessary, because both of us wanted to settle down together by then, and that seemed to be the only motivational recourse to sort of convince our families on our eventual fate together. So ZZ took shape in 2002, and by then I think we had a different approach. I mean, we always wanted to sort of have a very strong infrastructure to ZZ Architects. That was something. So there were a lot of do's that we decided at the beginning of our practice, and that sort of help us stand apart in a manner of speaking. Like, also there are things like art, music, fitness, business, philosophy, movies, and travel and work. These are my influences throughout the years of my practice. Now, if I had to tell you what would I recommend, as from the time I started ZZ, it would be a need to constantly learn and to discover myself. I mean, I love this book called Brutal Simplicity of Thought, because it really kind of helps you put everything and dissect it in a very simple manner and then work on it. And that's a part of our process. So at ZZ, what did we sort of learn from, or what did we take inspiration from? I have a few personal recommendations for the students. And so everybody learns from star architects. Try and learn from non-star architects, because what's the difference? It's about good work at the end of the day. So it's again, designers really inspire me. Like I said, design in any kind, be it art, be it fashion, sort of influences me a lot. So fashion designers like Alexander McQueen is one of my favorites. Yoji Yamamoto, I have a lot of his collections. Comedy Garso, again, very radically different. Virgil Abloh, he's the design head for Louis Vuitton today. Issey Miyake, Raf Simons. I mean, the list can simply go on. So try and take inspiration from wherever you can get access to. Learn from design practices across genres, learn from design practices in art. I travel extensively for work and pleasure, and luckily both of us travel together and we get to share it with each other. um, Now, explore art, the classics to the contemporary, Indian and the world. Please don't limit yourselves. I always try to share an influence of art almost every second day with people, so that I can get it out of my system and say it's time for me to learn something new. So the more you share, the more you learn. And last, but the most important is, back in our earlier office, when we started off and we moved to a new office, we had this manifesto of growth, incomplete manifesto of growth by Bruce Mao. It was one of our very early design influences. And I think all of y'all should really Google it and go through it. So for years, ZZ Architects, both Zubin and myself, had this manifesto, incomplete manifesto of growth for ourselves, which was very, very personal. What it did was it literally helped us always have a new input and grow from there. So don't restrict yourselves. I mean, these are some snippets out of Bruce Mao's incomplete manifesto of growth, and you can go through them. They are simply amazing. A lot of it will teach you how, for example, not borrowing money can help you grow because you're a free designer, or how reading only the left hand page of a book will give you more empty space in your mind to sort of have your own vision of things. So the idea is, try and be relevant, try and be relevant to the times that you're in, try and be relevant to the work that you're doing. And especially in the situation that all of us are in today, I think we all need to realize that it's very important to be relevant and to do good work. It's all right to do less work. So uh, very, very clear principles that we still follow. Begin anywhere. I don't think for us any two projects are similar, and that's a very non-conformist attitude of ours. Depending on the project, we would take inspiration at every point and take off. Keep moving, even if it's a little bit, and especially in times like this, go slow but keep moving. Again, go deep, dive into things. Try to don't just swim in the periphery. Scuba diving is always more beautiful, because you will discover far deeper truths of the ocean. Same as life. So keep at it, and laugh. a big laugh when you're working with your team, with yourself, with your work, with your family. It'll help you go a long way. So this is something that we believe in. Now, I mean, I can save this for later, but what we will come up to next is ZZ Architects and what we do, which is very, very critical. So we do bespoke contemporary projects and environments, and a clear emphasis is to emphasize on quality and timeless aesthetic. So this is what ZZ Architects is, and I will sort of stop sharing my screen here and keep the balance for the third half of the presentation.
Okay.
So
Krupa, in that just now when you shared that an incomplete manifesto of growth, one of the lines was make your own tools. So what has Krupa Zubin's tools been for carving out her practice and shaping her practice?
I think, again, over the past more than decade, I mean, little less than 2 decades, but it's been our tools have kept on changing. I mean, we started with the paper and the pen because that was something that we were always used to. Even back in college, we did our submissions by hand. So we did a lot of sketching back then. And then came in the computers. And now I don't really, and then came in COVID. So last 2 months, I have been back to AutoCAD because we had, our team was on holiday and we decided to take on doing some work on ourselves. And it was amazing, just to kind of get my hands warmed up on the machine again. But so I think tools have changed from being a part of a larger team because we have a brilliant and talented team. And we love sitting in groups and sort of addressing issues. Again, sampling has become a big tool for us. In terms of we have a very deep R&D section in the office wherein we are, constantly looking at personalizing samples. And again, we deal with the materials globally, so we call in for things that we need. So that's such an important thing, to exposure. Is become another tool. It's not a physical thing, but till you don't know something, you can't use something. So it's a thing, Now again, in the last 2 months, for the first time, I had so much time. I learned Procreate. I mean, it's a software. So I had 2 months, and I said, okay, every day I'm going to learn half an hour of Procreate, and I designed something on that. So I didn't expect myself to do that, but I think time sort of push you in different directions. Where you say that you'll end up using different tools to sort of, experience. I also indulged into making a little bit of a game kit during the holidays. So that was my first carpentry thing, a very small thing. But I realized that I want to teach my daughter how to be a carpenter, because I think that's so important. If you're a designer, you need to have a workshop of carpentry. And we've got a 3D printer at office recently, which we want to use once we set up our new space. So I mean, I can look at a list of things that I am so on the edge to do as soon as I get the opportunity to do it. So I think the tools are limitless, and again, you get a tool, you share it with your team, and then you say, "What can I do next?" So I think as whatever leaders that we are there to just ideate and sort of keep the wheel turning and see what we can do and what we can share, and then again do again. So I mean, it's a great process, and I am extremely inspired by a lot of designers and architects myself. I research on a new architect every day. I love what you're doing, Ajay. I mean, what you're doing with respect to NGOs and the kind of work that you're doing. People can only comprehend or say that I want to do this, but how many people can actually get to doing it? Very few, honestly. So I mean, it is something that I think you need to pat your own back, because I can't. But you're doing a fabulous job. So I'd love to sort of go through it and say, wow, so the next call of the hour is how we can decide on our footprint, in the industry, how we can be better designers post-COVID. So yeah, lots to learn.
Thank you.
I'm getting intense.
Pardon me?
I said, please let me know if I'm getting very intense.
You need to be. You're inspiring today. Don't forget. So I'm going to quickly read 2 questions which have just come in. One, a little delay because of the lapse, is from Kiran Kerluskar. And that is, Krupa, what is the most defining part of your education journey that you would have, you would say, contributed to your making that you are today? I'm also going to add, so you can maybe tweak the both together, is if you can say a few words on your style you have redefined for yourself. Example, Decode 2020, the launch of the new fabric line. So I'm going to complete the question also there, because it was one of the questions I asked you. You're one of the few designers who has their own line of fabric, generally associated with the fashion, etc. You have not one, but two lines of fabric to yourself. So do talk about both of them together.
Okay. So honestly, college was this, I couldn't quite figure out in college whether I was learning or whether I was unlearning. It was such a fight within yourself. You are trying to figure out what is right. And what is right in that moment doesn't really seem, what you would do when you're in your 40s, right? So I think college was this thing where you take a few risks, do what you can do, because you don't have a client to answer to. So I think if I had to tell students what should you do, just just stand out. Don't fear. Don't think too much. Don't overjudge yourselves, because I mean you are constantly thinking what the teacher is going to think or what somebody is going to think. Don't over educate. Take inspiration and then just go wild, because this is the time when you can, and it probably will lead you to another path. And also in college back, I mean, like I said, I didn't associate much with student council. You remember, I mean, I was not a part of the committee, or you wouldn't pick me as the brightest student from, you would, I mean, I was just there and I did my thing the way I like to do it. And I was not quite certain where I was headed, but like I said, a path less known. Explore, please explore back in college. It's the best time to do it. And there is nothing that sets a rule that these guys will make it, these guys will not make it. I mean, everybody will make it if you're following what you're passionate about. So that's my last memory of college. And coming back to my textile collection, I have been inspired thoroughly by my travels. So I do travel to Japan twice a year, and Tokyo has been a really large part of my influences in general. So I love this whole factor that you can go and learn so much in a country. I go there, I would be speaking in volumes 2 pitches lower. And I would be saying yes to everything that anybody asks me if I'm back from there. So, there is a certain sensibility there. Bookstores are open till 4 in the morning. From my fabric collection, I've suddenly gone into what inspires me about Tokyo. But so basically, Tokyo is like a place that inspires me, and I've been so much. So the first fabric collection is relative to calmness, and it's very subtle. And I wanted it to sort of blend into the home, because as architects we are used to having a lot of finishes and a lot of materials in the house. So the idea was to get a line that just kind of fits in very calmly, and it's called Shizuka, which is subtle calmness. So it's all inspired by my travel, by my so each fabric has a story behind a little bit. So I go to my sea face for a walk. So one of them is waves, so it's kind of looks like the ocean to me. One is inspired by the fallen ginkgo leaves in Japan. So I think so the colors are very worked out. I've worked out my own palette of colors that I think work for the next 2 years. And it's interesting. The names have been specifically listed by me. So each fabric has a color tone and a particular name. So yeah, it's been interesting to come up with this collection, and I'm looking forward to it getting into production probably in the next 1 week or 10 days.
That's lovely. So, Krupa, what we're going to do is, I think, since we're getting into the defining of practice here right now, let's jump and see some samples of the work, and maybe then we can get into deeper detailing of how you have shaped it out.
Okay. Okay, now I'm sharing the screen again. My screen is clear?
Yeah.
Is my screen visible to you? Okay, so now I told you what we do at ZZ Architects. Again at ZZ Architects, we do a lot of categories of projects. We do master planning, hotels, corporate environments, residences, high rises, bungalows, healthcare, educational institutions. So I thought I would just share with one project that we've done, which I feel a lot of people can visit because it's a commercial project and it's very accessible. And then 100 images of selected projects through various categories. I mean, also a few homes because we love doing homes. This is the Kolar Experience Center in Bombay, and this is what we've done for Kolar. It's one of their largest kind of experience centers in the world. They have other centers in LA, Shanghai, and a few other locations in the world. And it's nice that they seem to have a large footprint. This is the second experience center in India. The first one is in Delhi, and it is done by Lotus Design Studio. And so the point is, it was about imagining the unexpected. This is just to give the students a brief as to how a presentation is done in office briefly. I mean, we always have a little bit of a concept, the way forward, or the ideation that goes into making of the project. A few floor plans to just kind of give you an idea of how the space is designed. So this is where you sort of enter, and we've got something which is like a co-working space, a suite where you can sort of experience the products of the company. Again, it's a very historic company, and so we wanted to design something that's different and just not a space where you can come and see products. So we've created something called the stage. And what is beautiful about this is that on Women's Day, the first ever Pecha Kucha was held out here, where all the women architects came and sort of presented. So, and the rest of the area has got more than 1,000 products of Kohler, wherein our team has done an extreme R&D, of the products, and they went in depth as to some are displayed as per what the builders need, some are displayed as per the luxury needs. So there's a good bifurcation on that. And what we have above is six bathrooms. I mean, actually more than that. We have 10 spaces, out of which few of them are designed by sort of designers, which is which have been shortlisted internationally and nationally. So the international architects have been picked by Kohler directly. And we also have a little bit of a museum, you know. It was a very interesting thing. When we were doing the section, we wanted to have this kind of an interaction space. Imagine having an amphitheater within an experience center, so that you could have architects, you could have, occasions where you could really have a lot of exchange of ideas. Again, the way the spaces, the sections and the drawings are very critical as a firm as to how we are sort of defining. So the stage has a front area where you could actually build in a space for performances as and when needed. And like you can see, people can overlook this entire space from different levels. So these are a few sections for you to get an idea. This is the exterior. Again, it had to speak of the brand. So whenever we do work, we are actually collaborating with the brand and trying to create a story, not only in the visual design, but in the history of the brand, so how it holds good. And the space has received that kind of acknowledgement. And what you see in detail, I don't know if you noticed, but there are smaller texts and statements made by architects which are a part of the entire design. There is the history of the company which is sort of put across on these areas also. So even while you're there, you're noticing these small nuances that sort of get you intrigued. This is a history wall of Kohler, which is something that everybody sees. On the top, you see the panels of the architects who've sort of done the bathrooms there. And, these are some shots of the showroom. Now, what's very interesting is because it's an international brand and we are making a showroom in India, we wanted to have something that has a local flavor. So we have this cement floor where we've sort of designed the cement floor, particularly with the colors, which flows through the entire space. So it kind of gives you a different value. These are again parts and uh, few shots of the showroom. Now here we also had to do our own bathroom, like one concept bathroom. So above doing all these areas and detailing, we thought we must actually do something completely unique in our space. So these are few shots again of the showroom. And it's interesting how every product has been sort of clustered together. The story of the product is right there for you to read and experience. This is our bathroom, that the suite that we've done for Kohler. Now we wanted to sort of have it very differently designed compared to the rest of the space. There's so many materials, so we decided to sort of have a monolithic kind of a look. So there is one stone and the whole space is designed in that particular stone. So it's interesting how this entire solid form has been derived and detailed with the travertine marble. And yeah, so now these are a few random slides of our work across categories. These are probably 100 or more, few of our project images. And we begin with a few bungalows and villas. I mean, we do bungalows and villas across pan India. So this is in Ahmedabad, and this one is in Bombay. So it's a 45,000 square feet private home. You know, um, so these are spread across the country. And what happens when we're doing these spaces, it really helps you sort of connect with people from various cultures and backgrounds, and sort of understand and build a space specially for them. And the great thing about our profession is that you get to really meet a lot of people. So this is in Hyderabad, this is in Kerala. Again, we love the idea that we are doing, we have the possibility of doing the architecture and the interior architecture together. That gives us a lot of flexibility. So these are again, some bungalows for you to just understand. So like you see the aesthetic and you probably understand what the family and what the family wants. So it's such a exercise to I mean, these are like dream homes for many people, that we design for. So I think it's almost like a responsibility to be able to deliver and talk closely to them. These are some of the hotels that we are involved in. And it's an interesting quote that sort of say, "Tell me what you eat, and I'll tell you who you are." And so these are some hospitality projects. This is a lovely project in Pushkar. In fact, it is located at a place where the Camel Mela normally happens, and it's something that we're looking forward to finishing. Here you see the hardscape sort of is designed in the middle of this entire natural space. It overlooks the mountain, so it's very site specific, and that's the joy of doing these spaces. These are some restaurants again, you know we also do corporate environments. This is a pharmaceutical. This is Microlab's office in Bangalore, and it's really interesting. While you're doing these places for these companies, it sort of also helps you push your own boundaries. Like this is a microbiology company in Bombay. We're doing high media, and it's a beautiful space that is coming up as we speak, and it's under construction. Work is already started as of now, so we're very excited about that. These are some developer spaces. So I mean, spaces of cabins, for instance, are not no longer dimensioned as to some standards. I mean, these are something that we build very specifically for the kind of uh, person that we are designing for. Again, tech is a very important part of our work. uh, so this is one of these oldest facilities for classic marble. I mean, this was one of our first few projects that we had done initially, and it's beautiful because 4 lakh square feet odd. The reception itself is about 25,000 square feet, and it's amazing that people who visit there usually give us a call and tell us that they love the way marble is used. So we wanted to kind of use the material that the client has. This is a stockbroker's office, and to me, it's relevant because if you see the ceiling, it was sort of conceptualized on the basis of the crests and troughs of the stock market. The ups and downs of the stock market, and it's very exciting how you can use the tools that you have. As in your laborers and your carpenters who can really custom build whatever you want today, so that's a huge advantage that we have in our country. And I love working with closely with my team on that front. This is also a very interesting office where we created these lounges because what happens is you don't like waiting with somebody after a while. So there's a common waiting and there's a slightly more private waiting. These are workspaces again. Now we come to some residential interiors, which is something that we love doing. It's something that we are known for. I mean, we do how these. So this is one of the smallest spaces. It's about 2,000 square feet. It's a beach house, but it doesn't matter what the scale is, whether it is 2,000 square feet or it's 60,000 square feet. I mean, our input is the same. I mean, we are as excited to do this as we would to do something else. So these are again few penthouses, and I mean, sky is the limit. We love each house. To us is a different story because again it has a different context, a different client. Um, and I'm sort of having fun while I'm sharing this with you because I get to go through probably works that I haven't seen for a while. Because we're always working on something that's new and on the board as such. So, I mean, we've always emphasized on green, outdoor spaces, natural materials. So, I love the introduction of art again. I think it's a great factor that helps you have a conversation, personalized spaces. So, wherever our clients are fond of it, we love to work with a lot of artists, encourage young and old work both. I mean, these are classics, of course. There is Paresh Methi, but there are a lot of young artists that we also love to work with. And again, lighting, ambience is something that we give a lot of emphasis to. These are some educational institutions like schools that we've done. This is a dance academy. Um, these are training centers which are on the outskirts of the city, and they have this large palette, large floor plate, and so we can explore a little. So it's a great thing to be able to be diverse, have a diverse team back in the office, and honestly, we are able to sort of wake up the next morning and say, today I want to work on a hospital, today I want to work on a school, and you're able to do that. So this is a hospital we've done in Bangalore. It's a very interesting space. Uh, I don't have the ICU picture, but the ICU were designed with a very different concept, and they had a very good letter of recommendation for it being done for the first time. It was designed in a way that 24/7 anybody could walk in to the ICU without sort of disturbing the patients or the nurses. And yeah, so coming to some residential architecture that ZZ Architects sort of indulges in. These are some of the buildings again in India. So I also feel that again when you're doing these, not only the elevation but also the experience within the interior spaces becomes so relevant. Like I feel you are designing for people. So what do people see and how do people feel in a space is something that we really like to sort of push boundaries on. These are some multi-housing projects. This is under construction in Punjab. These are some in Bombay. This is a lovely tower that we're doing in Bombay, which is going to take off soon. And the idea is to get this green body at every floor, you know, such that it can be maintained and you get a little bit of an element of nature at a higher level. And decks are something that I think are much wanted, especially these times make us realize that this is a much older project, but the beauty of this, even then we tried to create terrace gardens, you know. So I think that's always been something that we need to, as designers, push ourselves to do, and push the clients to agree to and want, because that is an important part of, giving back to the profession sometimes. These are some commercial buildings. Again, a project that has taken off and started off in Bangalore. This has been completed in Bombay. This is another project in Andheri. This is under construction. And coming to weekend homes, we do a lot of weekend homes. I think this is a very interesting, green space that we've done. This is in Pavna, a little away from Pavna. But the interesting part of this was we didn't really emphasize too much in the interiors, but we wanted to sort of, what you see out here is a stream in the center of the plot, which was always existing, and the water from the mountains sort of collects in the rain in the stream during the rains. So all the bedrooms are sort of along arced periphery, and they all overlook greens and they have enough privacy. So I think architecturally, we really wanted to push our boundaries here. This is a slightly older project, and we wanted to create this sink-in seating where you could just see the mountains and furniture didn't really come in your way. These are some other weekend homes. So I'm jumping categories, and these are some corporate headquarters that we've done, and for clients where we've also done their houses. So some larger setups. This is again a large setup for the microbiology company that I mentioned to you earlier. This is Classic Marbles in Silvassa. This is another one in Bangalore. And what's beautiful is this entire property sort of faces the race course. So from all the cabins, you're actually seeing horses, sort of, you have the horse races, and it's such an amazing thing. So in the planning, we decided to face everything with and get as much view and natural light into the property as possible while doing the architecture. So, I mean, again, we love doing homes. I mean, that's a larger part of our portfolio, and so it's again direct response to today's time. We have an approach where we are designing with the team. The client is also a part of my team, for instance. What I learned from during my work at office is that I meet a lot of people from different industries, and there is a lot of exchange. So I think I'm getting free education from them. So that is something that I thrive on. Again, these projects coming together is like a series of experiences from us, for us. And I believe every project you do can transform your life. So we have to keep this aspiration for quality always, there. I hope I am on time. Yeah. I mean, can I go ahead with the homes?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah.
There are questions feeding in, but you can continue.
Okay. So these are some of the homes. I will briefly just kind of rush through this. They are multi-level. All the architecture interiors is a part of our scope, and I mean each one can be talked much in detail. But I mean the homes that we do today have very very cool requirements. This is in Bombay, and this has an atrium which is like a 3-floor atrium, and a skylight on the top, and a terrace where the family can actually take a walk. And so different palette of materials in every project kind of helps you sort of personalize. There's a lovely library we have as a part facing the atrium. This is another fabulous one in Ajmer, which we just kind of finished. And to a lot of people who must have probably seen the page, the Instagram pages or whatever, you see the girl sliding down the staircase belongs to this house. And it's amazing how even a product or even a small space that you design can simply take over the entire experience, you know. These are the bathrooms. Again, it's about redefining bathrooms, redefining kitchens. You know, it's such a continuous process. So this is the staircase I was talking about. And the staircase itself is designed as a landscape element. This is a private villa in Trichur, which is something that we did as a weekend home for a family, and lovely architectural value, and you know, a lot of natural light. Again, primary to every space. Please try and pull in as much light as you can. So what you see in the bathroom itself, this whole thing is like a skylight. You know, this is living by the beach, and you know, a small space, but you see glass very uniquely used out there. This is an accordion in glass, but it lets you get the view of the beach, of the sea, as soon as you sort of enter, you know. This is another private residence in Mumbai, which I think was there earlier. But again, lobbies are also as important as the house. So this is a lobby, and it's got a very unique chair, you know, as a part of the entire concept. This is a very different language, but I think I sort of compliment this home to the personality that we made it for. And I don't think uh, homes can be sort of, you know, retrofitted for anybody. I mean, it has to be personal. And it's lovely because there's not a single straight line in this house. And the client came with that kind of a requirement that everything should be a arc or a curve. You know, I'm not so fond of straight lines, and who does that today? This is a lovely residence in Bangalore, and we've sort of got some unique surfaces that we experimented with. It's got artwork, antique artworks with very contemporary, you know, settings. A 50-year-old tree with, you know, custom built patterns in this pool, and you can hear the birds chirping, and you know, it's still a part of the house. This is a lovely skylight where you can actually see people walking while you are sort of indoors in the house. These are areas where people can the family sort of interacts and plays games, you know, in these areas in between rooms. So it's a very interactive space, and that's what homes are meant to be. Homes are meant to be spaces where the family can sort of connect with each other. This one is in Hyderabad. Again, landscape is a part that we are very excited about. I mean, this is, for instance, a local granite that we just kind of picked up and designed the entire terrace in. And it's just a very small quotient of the house, you know, because the pool has this city view and you don't even see the pool from the elevation. So I think to sum it all up, this is ZZ Architects. I have to mention that both of us work together all the time, and that's the biggest pleasure of my life. That's Zubin and myself.
Okay. Thank you,
Yeah.
Krupa. That was rapid fire of projects. And I think
Yeah. So I
it was more.
deserve those 5 minutes, right? That I took.
Pardon me?
I said I deserve that
Pardon me?
5 minutes that I took at the beginning of the presentation to
Yes.
make
Yes.
you wait. Yeah.
Okay. So that was a rapid fire, and there have been questions coming in. And
Okay.
but I'll just put position the questions before we get into accepting questions. Just a quick question: defining a practice, especially between couples. Okay,
Yeah.
both having known Zubin also a little bit, both are very strong, defined personalities. How do
Yeah.
you shape a practice, and how do you create a sense of critique in it? Because as you said, there are personalities even dealing with clients, right? So how do you
Yeah.
one shape your practice with two strong personalities, and how do you define for a culture of critique in it? How do you make decisions on that? if you could just share some moments of that and some directions there.
Yeah. So honestly, be a non-egoist. I mean, both of us are very strong-headed, but at the same time, we have no. I mean, we don't have unnecessary pride. We always welcome the idea of sort of throwing back ideas, and it's always the better one that wins. Amongst the both of us. And since the time of inception of ZZ Architects, we've had this practice of having a long desk with two chairs for the both of us. So we sit together. The hours that we are in office, we are together. When we are back home, and it's almost as though we've sort of developed a language that we understand. In terms of design, in terms of our sensibilities, our likes in food, our inspirations in travel. I mean, there are times when you're walking on the street and both of us will say, "Did you see that?" And we're watching a movie and they say, "Did you notice the gate?" And he said, "Yeah." And so there are times when you say it at the same time, and it's amazing. So our team and our clients also test us. We've been through the test of time. So there are times when I would walk out of a cabin or just walk into a meeting and they'd ask me a question, "What do you like better?" And I would point that out. And he said, "Oh, he just said that." And I said, "Okay, thankfully I wasn't around." So there's no coordination, but I think it's something that we believe in, and we love to sort of take opinions and work on things together. And it's always great that when you're stuck, I can always load off a little bit of work onto him, and I can take a little privilege and say, "I'm coming in late and could you handle the meeting?" So I mean, there are great advantages of the entire thing, right? And I see more advantages. So
Okay.
it's really been quite nice.
Okay, and to develop that kind of scale, Krupa, managing that rapid fire, as I called it, to handle that scale, is it just the two of you, or how do you, what is your management system within the practice? How do you really grow, scale up? It's just two at the head, or it has multiplied into more heads?
No, see, I think we've always believed in the idea of team. We've grown into this whole thing that we want people to know that it is, there is the same. I mean, there's that same excitement, and the passion has to get delivered down the line, because only if they have that much exposure and they have that much involvement, is there going to be excitement in your studio. Today we don't have to be present at a studio to know that there's work happening. So there is obviously, there is a sense of hierarchy. There are teams, there are leaders. There are we have a dedicated presentation team, which is not really doing any bit of design on a project or doing site, but their strength is getting the work together and compiling it. There's somebody who loves materials, is kind of discussing materials with us. So we are at the top end where we love to be involved in everything. I'd love to be involved in what pen and pencil comes into my office, because it makes a difference if you are having the right color tone on the table. To that extent, we are involved in the office, to what water bottles are lying on the table. But at the same time, I think there is a faith and there is a system where we know that everybody is responsible, including our clients have realized this over a period of time. And it's amazing how much they let you do. They don't interfere, and they say that I want your vision. So I think our team has been there for more than decades. I mean, we have this little award in our office called the ZZ Award, which we started for people who finished 10 years. And there are so many of them. In fact, during the lockdown, we had somebody come and say, "I finished 10." So, I mean, there are so many of them who were there in my first office, 2, 3 who obviously went and came back. So I think it's also been that synergy that helped us.
Okay, Krupa, I'm going to jump into questions now coming in, and also just for ensuring that we limit the time, I'm going to club them because some of them trying to overlap. So I'm going to, one standalone is one from Vaishali Singh, and she asks, "Thank you for sharing your experience. I want to know if you faced any challenges as a woman leader in this industry, as a lady, any challenges you faced?"
Always. I mean, you forget being in this industry. I think as a woman, you're going to get a lot of challenges. You must realize that take being woman your strength and not your weakness or not your it's all right. I think it makes us multitaskers. I can do multiple things at the same time. I could be messaging Zubin and saying, is everything going okay? I said, yes, amazing, send me a thumbs up. So I mean, I'm just wired in a way that I am used to calling up the house, finding out if this is fine, and being at work. And obviously, as women, and you are challenged a little bit, because people want to know if you can give the time, if you are if you have exposure enough. So I think it's all right to work a tad bit harder if you have to, and prove people wrong. I mean, if you come in a position where you feel there is that kind of difference, take it as a challenge. I mean, that's what I've done, and I've enjoyed it. I have no complaints.
Okay, next we have Geeta Thakkar asking us, how do you relate to a site like the hotel at Pushkar? Do you feel it needs to be context driven? One. And then Kiran Patel asks, as your projects are across the country, do you approach the local community for study of materiality and context? And then I'm adding Sunil Ladda's question, how do you justify your role with respect to scale and such diverse sector of works? Do you relate with respect to subject submission simultaneously in college too? Okay, so there's a to and fro. So just if you feel you want to answer just one aspect, it's great. I can come back to the question.
Yeah. The Pushkar project that you just mentioned, I think it is very relative to the context of where it is. In fact, the color of the color tones are also like sort of derived from the sand dunes of the place, and the whole form is kind of made in order to sort of accentuate the view of the mountains. And you see the landscape element, because it's quite dry and hot in certain times, but it has a beautiful weather in the winter. So the landscape area sort of encourages people to kind of come down. So there are a lot of factors. Privacy, if you see the rooms on the top, they don't have a direct window looking down on the landscape, so people can't look into the rooms. Again, I'll club the question of the materials that somebody asked in terms of the context of the materials. Do you explore local? For example, in this project, the client wanted to use Italian marble, and we told him, let's not do that. It is a hotel. It's meant for tourists to come to India. So we've got an entire palette that is more local, that is more economical, and we used our craftsmen to sort of custom build rooms on the site. And it's amazing how some of the images that I recently received of site work that is done, how it's looking. So I think we're very sensitive, and we want to use the best in whichever place sort of that we go in, but also we are not restricted. At the end, we want to leave a mark of quality where we go. So if we feel this is something somebody else can do better, we will probably get that person in. And I think that also helps us kind of push our boundaries a little bit and not restrict ourselves. Yeah. And the question you said was Sunil's question, which was
yes. I'll repeat for you. How do you justify your role with respect to scale and such diverse sectors of work? Do relate with respect to subject submission simultaneously in college too? So I think it's a to and fro about how you dealt in college and how you do in practice.
Yeah, I think very different in college. Like I said, I was such a singular approach, and now you realize that the more tools you have, the more partners you have, the more relative discussions that you have with within the industry, within your people, within your clients, work is much faster and more superior. So yes, very, very different from what I probably would have understood back in college. But these things only come with experience. And how do I justify the role is that it is, after a while, it's like a chef. I think being an architect is also similar to being a chef. Once you know your things, you know your ingredients, it doesn't matter what dish you're working on, you can really use it when you feel it perfectly fits in. And then comes the plating, and then comes the decor quantity. So I mean, the same thing, how sensitive a small plate of food is. I mean, the project is the same thing. I mean, we have our groundwork clear. We have, I mean, that's why the infrastructure within the office was very, very critical to us. How we kind of layer that and build that from the beginning. We have a great organized set of drawing work. And I feel, as a student, again, since we are talking to the student community, it's very important to make sure that you are you have clarity in your communication with the client or with the contractor, because that is half work done there. You know, you don't have to then get too involved. Then it's a process that takes over. So I think we've sort of worked our processes well, and we're very personal with design. So at any point, if I'm asked of any project, we both know it, and we could dive in and get a decision done. So I think also tech is great advantage. I mean, we didn't have tech in college, Sunil. So I mean, that's where I couldn't call anybody and get things done faster. But now tech is great. I mean, you could go have your images here. You could just say, okay, this is not right. Change it, sketch it on the iPad, send it back to them. It's damn fast. So I think all these are great tools to manage this category work that we do.
Okay. So Krupa, that we are on the last 10 minutes, and that's the time given. We thought we were not going to last it, but we have seemed to have lasted it. And that comes to the last segment, guys, which we have called possibilities. And I think that's one segment that we really thought, how do we go forward? Because last 3 months, and one of the inspirations that has made the PiCA alumni shift from September to now and get us all together online. So it's a time of COVID. And how do you see, as a practice of scale, you have the pulse of the market, you understand what clients, which are industrialists, etc., facing. What shifts do you see happening, and how has it affected your practice? Also, do share some of it.
See, these are very sensitive times. I mean, we all have to really become more empathetic, and we have to understand that all of us are in this together, from different layers, from migrant workers to people that who work with you, people who you work for, and the bigger picture. So I think we all have to become far more sensitive, far more helpful to each other. Also, we have to sort of be there, be positive. I think this time is here to stay. It's going to sort of, it's going to completely change the direction that we are in. It's going to give us a new direction, and that direction could also be something we can simplify, where you could say that, okay, I have been doing this, but this is not as bad, and we could probably change the way we work. I see myself and the work that is happening. I see far more lesser drawings. I see far more lesser changes. I see far more stronger interaction, because in this COVID, we've had so many people call us up because we do homes. Again, this is purely because we've done so many homes, and they've called us and thanked us for the houses we've done. And it's such a great thing that people experience that kind of pleasure, which so many years we've done it, but the call comes in now because that's the time that they had to themselves, and they could experience it in its truest form. So we've realized quality, we've realized peace, we've realized less is honestly a nice way to live. So maybe what will happen is you will say, this is what I want to spend, but instead of buying 10 things, I will just buy one. And you will stop to compromise on quantity, and that can be a complete drift to our country. I mean, our country could suddenly take a jump and say that we are manufacturing quality, we believe in quality, let's kind of so I think as a firm we want to emphasize that. As a firm, we also want to look strongly and say, how can we efficiently reduce our footprint, help clients also consciously see what is possible. We don't want to force it, we don't want it to become an adjustment, but you need to make it a way of life. So I think a lot of these factors will come in. It is going to be slow, but it is going to be movement. So if you can hold true to your passion and say, I'm happy doing as much work as I do, but as a designer I want to deliver. And the same thing goes for students. I really think students need to deliver more on their portfolios. We see a lot of resumes coming in. And honestly, the second tier city resumes are very, very strong. I mean, they have more effort and more, I mean, there's more to it than probably a resume that we get from Bombay. And, so I think students need to kind of push their limits and get more excited about what they are doing. Because honestly, what they're doing is also very relevant. All of us are doing work that is relevant. So give it a little more thought, and yeah, I mean, use the fact that you have time on your hand.
Okay. So, Krupa, my question is, as a practice that has defined itself so much cued in with the AEC industry itself, like you said, you're working with Kohler, you worked with Classic Marble, you worked a lot with the AEC industry manufacture and the materiality of it. Now, when I ask or talk about the shift that's going to come, also a lot of sourcing. You talked about Tokyo, be it in terms of cosmetics, the trade fairs that happen, etc. It's all going to shift right now, industry events. So how do you see the materiality of your, because it also ties up with the context questions that came in earlier, is that how do you see your practice shift its whole patterns of sourcing? You think it's going to affect the businesses, it's going to affect so on? Because people also say for next 6 months, architects can forget getting projects. So how do you see really it affecting the industry?
No, I don't think that's true. Please don't be dissuaded by hearing something like that, because if you're doing good work, you will get work. Just don't, again, don't be too judgmental on that. Give it some time. And again, all of us are in this together. We will get through this. It's about being calm and seeing that little light at the end of the tunnel, like they say. So as one door closes, another one opens. So I'm seeing a lot of transparency in the system, because what is going to happen is, where you had to see marble, for instance, let's say you would say, okay, you come to my yard and you see it and you decide costing there, so that's the normal process. But now with this whole thing, it's going to become more, you don't want to go until unless it's not needed for the next 6 months, right? And next 6 months work is going to happen. It's not going to stop. So there's going to be another solution where it can be sent across to you. So there is going to be a transparent thing and a faster thing, wherein this whole, again, see, for our work, it's hands-on. We love to meet people. So we to discuss and to be able to do that. So a lot of our clients have called us recently and said, we've lost so much time, so I'm not going to interfere. I love your vision. So just do what you want and send it to me for approval and execute it. We will save 2 months there. So, and more than a few clients called and said this. So we said, fine, as soon as we can start. So we are working on things that we feel will do due diligence to the client, to the place, to everything that we've spoken right now. So I think there'll be a lot of transparency in the system. There'll be a lot of pace. And also there will be, value for our own craftsmen, value for our own people. And you realize that you don't want to just do something that's, again, not relevant. You would want to strongly do work that means something to you, because I mean, something that this time has taught us is that, I mean, you're living to do good work at the end of the day, so don't take it lightly.
So let's look local.
I think we are so excited. We want to get local artists, local people, and sort of work closely with them. But I also want to emphasize, the problem that a lot of us have seen earlier is quality. I mean, that was taken for granted. So the shift is going to be transparency. Shift is going to be value for quality, even if it's local.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Krupa, I think we are at the end of it at 88 minutes. We've given 90 minutes for our conversation. So that was lovely. And as a close, I would say, what is your message at ZZ Architects, and what do we expect from ZZ Architects in the upcoming time as completion? What that you are looking forward to in the future?
No,
besides a lot of portfolios coming from PiCA to you, which you will accept, which you're bullying you into accepting.
Yeah. No, but I know. I mean, luckily we didn't get bullied as badly. Okay. I mean, the seniors were kind. But, I think the idea is only to stay passionate and stay affirmative with your entire approach. So at ZZ Architects, I think I'm looking forward to having my team on board with me, which they are, and, sort of getting through this patch with all of them, and working very aggressively to a better future in our work, exploring design far more, learning from our times, and helping ourselves come to a place that we probably wouldn't have imagined otherwise. So if this entire difficult time can make us smarter, make us more human, that's what I think we're looking at. Yeah.
Lovely. And I saw the Instagram post which said, after 2 month vacation, ZZ is back. So all the
Yeah.
best for that.
Thank
And lovely
you.
evening for getting back here. And I would like to welcome back Mrs. Dalvi to take this forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Talvi, and thank you, Ajay. Yes, thank you so much.
All right. That was wonderful. Thanks, Krupa, and thank Ajay for really an entertaining and educating sort of an hour. Really, and no, I must say over here, Krupa, that the journey from KT to KZ,
Yeah.
it's amazing, it makes our heart swell with pride, all of us who have been your teachers, we are extremely proud of you, we all know that you are both a popular and critically acclaimed practice doing wonderful work. It's been amazing to have you back with us here tonight, speak with us, share your work with our students. Uh, it's uh, I mean, really thank you for that. And
No,
and Ajay
over
has
to
been
you.
really, uh, yeah, yeah. uh, Wonderful thing, Ajay. I really thank both of you. I should also say, it really, I wasn't expecting both of you to, to dig up the memories of your college days so much. But, let me add something over here. I would say that Katie Krupa Thakkar always carried a very strong head on her shoulder as a student.
Yeah.
uh, and I do remember her. I can even now I would recognize her drawing and her lettering and handwriting. If I did, if it was just kind of put in front of me, I would recognize that. Okay, and it's amazing to see that the KZ carries even a stronger head on her shoulder, much more confident, and it's brilliant. So thank you so much, both of you, for doing this session with us. Uh, now, before we close, we also have one very pleasant thing to do, and that is, we have our annual magazine, the college magazine Walks. The latest issue was published in February 2020, and the students are now ready with an online version. So here I would like to invite Kiran Patel, the General Secretary of Students' Council, to come and join us for a little release ceremony.
Uh, Thank you, Dalvi ma'am, for introducing me. Thank you, Krupa ma'am and Ajay sir, for this pleasant session. Uh, I would like to express our gratitude from the student body to the Pican Association and Professor Smita Dalvi for the ideas of PiCA Alumni Talks and Exchange Series. Thank you to all the panel members who have and will be a part of this insightful Saturday night session. Vox is a student magazine which was conceived in the year 1993 and has been a part of PiCA for these many years. The theme of the latest edition of Vox is avant-garde, meaning new and experimental ideas and methods in art, music, or literature. And this edition also celebrated 100 years of Bauhaus. We hope that you enjoy reading this distinguished student magazine. The link will be provided in the description of the YouTube channel. I would like to invite architect Ajay Nayak and architect Krupa Zubin to release the digital copy through a video and speak a few words.
Okay, so I will take the first lead on that to speak a few words. I know that Ajay had been very closely involved in the initial, uh, work on the magazine, and so one of the few inception years of this entire, effort. So I think there's nobody better than him to sort of say those valuable few words on this entire magazine and sort of cut it open, virtually cut it open.
Clip. Okay. Uh, I think I will just share the first memory of walks that I have in the Khanda Colony library when we joined. I remember this black cover with the I forget whose hand rendering of the elephant from Ajanta or Ellora, one of them, and that was the first memory of walks that I had. The voice of PiCA. And Jaita Sahani and I edited it in third version for Zone Asa that happened. And it was a fun time. We had a lot of jokes, a lot of fun, a lot of tough times because I had a little preview of it this afternoon when Kiran shared it with us. But which was much more professional than what we had to do. And even I think the method, I think when Krupa mentioned that when there were no computers, no smartphones at that point, how did we manage? We don't know. But I remember the process. We had one computer outside Pillai sir's room, which we used to share, and that's how the box of 2007, I think, came out. So it's lovely to see that it's continuing. The cycle is continuing, and great. Congratulations to the entire editorial team at PiCA, and yeah, all the best.
Thank you, sir.
This is a silent clap. I mean, great work. Thank you, Kiran. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here.
So thank you, Ajay, and thank you, Krupa, for
sorry,
doing the honors
sorry if I can interrupt.
Releasing the.
Can I interrupt one? It's also Jinu's birthday today, and I can see the WhatsApp going off. So happy birthday to Jinu, who has been involved in coordinating this entire thing. And have a great year.
Yeah, very, very happy birthday, Jinu. I mean, we missed your questions. Yeah. Have a wonderful year.
Right. So on this note, I would like to also offer my greetings to Jinu Kurian, who has been a great helping hand to organize this particular series. I would also like to mention the students from the student council who have been tirelessly working to make this series possible, and all the technicalities. My colleagues. Some of them who have been kind of valuable in making this thing happen. So thank you everyone for this series. I also am very happy to announce our next set of events. So I think this is going to be a kind of a routine every Saturday night at 8:30 p.m. We are going to be meeting for our this webinar series. And I may be partial over here. I'm always partial when it comes to the Picans, but I can confidently say that that Salim is proven wrong, and Anarkali is not going to see, at least in the ex-Pican and PiCA webinars. Yes. Right. So next Saturday on 20th June, we will have our parallel series, that is ex-Pican exchange. And this time around, the 93 to 98 batch will kind of join together for a discussion on impact of architectural practice in the COVID and the post-COVID times. So for this particular session, we will have Kanchana Gokhale joining in from Stuttgart, Anaga Chitle from Pune, and Kalpesh Solanki from Milan. And the session will be moderated by Ajay Pillai from Mumbai. So that is for 28th June. And then on 27th June, we will have yet another session of PiCA Alumni Talks. And for 27th, we have Mahesh Khanapurkar and Diana Babu. Both of them are at very senior position at Stoop Design Forum, and together they will narrate their experiences of working in an corporate sort of an environment and the nature of practice that they engage in. So, guys, we have a lot to look forward to. At this on this note, I again thank everyone who joined us today. The panelists, again kind of say my thanks to Krupa and Ajay for kind of very lovingly spending the time with us. So goodbye, everyone. Good night.